Hey everyone, and welcome back to Monty Mills Catering. I'm Chef Chetia Hurt, and today we're not just cooking up a delicious dish, we're celebrating the incredible legacy of Black women chefs who have shaped American cuisine. We're talking about culinary giants, women who have defied odds, and whose influence are still felt in kitchens across the country. Today, we're making a dish that blends comfort and flavor: Cajun mushrooms and grits. It's a dish that speaks to my soul and one I'm excited to share with you. But before we dive into the recipe, I want to honor the women who paved the way for chefs like me. Think about the impact of Chef Lena Richard. Her 1940 cookbook, New Orleans Cookbook, was a groundbreaking achievement, bringing Creole cuisine to a wider audience and becoming a staple in many homes. She was a restaurateur, a teacher, and a true pioneer. Then there's Chef Edna Lewis, often called the poet laureate of Southern cooking. Her focus on fresh seasonal ingredients and her dedication to preserving the authentic flavors of her heritage made her a culinary icon. She reminded us of the power of simple, honest food. And of course, the legendary Chef Leah Chase, the queen of Creole cuisine. Her restaurant, Dookie Chase, wasn't just a place to eat. It was a gathering place, a cultural hub, and a testament to the power of food to bring people together. She fed presidents, civil rights leaders, and everyday folks, all with the same love and care. These women and so many others faced incredible challenges, but their passion and talent shone through. They not only created delicious dishes, but they also created opportunities and inspired generations. They're a reminder that representation matters and that our stories and our flavors deserve to be celebrated. So today, let's get cooking for our Cajun mushrooms and grits. So we're going to start with some stone ground corn grits. We have some shiitake and oyster mushrooms. I also have some baby bella mushrooms here. I have some sweet red and orange peppers. I have some fresh thyme. That's going to be delicious in the dish. Some vegan cheese. Of course, my salt, pepper, and garlic powder. Some nutritional yeast and Cajun seasoning. I also have some vegetable broth here that I'm going to use for the base of my grits. A lot of people do use water. I want to use vegetable broth because I want to impart as much flavor as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my stove on, and we're going to get the vegetable broth directly into the pan to start getting heated up for our grits. I'm going to save a little bit because I want to use it for my mushrooms. So while that's boiling, we're going to go ahead and get our mushrooms going. So I have a little bit of avocado and olive oil here. And then we're going to heat that up. So I did get some nice shiitake mushrooms here. These have already been cleaned and de-stemmed. So we're going to go ahead and get these sliced down. Shiitake mushrooms impart a really meaty flavor and texture into dishes. So I think this with the oyster mushrooms are going to be a nice addition, because once they actually start to lose their water, they will start to caramelize and get crispy. And we want to do, I'm not going to say we're going to remake, shrimp and grits. I'm saying we're just going to look at a different take on it. So people that don't eat meat don't feel left out. If you have used me before or heard me speak, Monty Mills Catering has a lot to do with inclusion. We want to make sure that people that don't eat meat feel included, and even people that do eat meat, so that they're not missing out. We want to make sure that they're included as well. So I like to make dishes that are reminiscent, not the same, but reminiscent of meat dishes that sometimes people may miss being a vegetarian or a vegan. So we're going to go ahead and get those mushrooms chopped down. I have a couple more here. So after I go ahead and get those mushrooms cut down, I also have a shallot. Love the shallots. Why shallots, Chef Tia? Well, shallots are or tend to be sweeter than yellow onions. So I like that nice mild flavor that they give to dishes. All right. So we now are going to go ahead and, since we already have our shallots cut up, we're going to go ahead and get them in this pan. So we're going to get a little bit of color on them and get those nice and softened. I'm going to move them around our pan here. And I have that on a low flame. Nothing too crazy. Yeah, just like that. We're going to keep it like this until we add the mushrooms. Once we add the mushrooms, I'm going to crank up that heat, okay? So as we have our flame going for our grits or our vegetable broth, I'm going to add some salt and some pepper. And I'm going to add a sprig of thyme. We're going to take the thyme out. We're going to take the thyme out at the end, but I want that in there now to kind of impart that flavor again. So we got that going. As soon as that comes to a boil, we're going to add our grits straight in. So now that we have some color on these onions, smell beautiful. We're going to add our mushrooms here. Once again, we're going to go ahead and just add all of those. And we can't forget our baby bellas as well. So we're going to crank up that heat, get that pan nice and hot, and we're going to get those mushrooms going. So once those start to come up, we're going to start seasoning them. I want the liquid to start coming out before I season them so that the liquid actually has the flavor and it'll get into the mushrooms as well. So now we have our vegetable broth that's boiling. We have salt and pepper in there. We're now going to add our stone ground grits. So just pour those in there and just start stirring. So grits are something that I love to make. When I was younger, they seemed super hard to make. But with a little time and patience, you can really get some really good creamy grits going. So I'm going to go ahead and keep stirring this around. We are going to end up adding some oat milk to this. As I tear the place up, I'm going to go ahead and add about 2 cups or a cup and a half of oat milk. And then we're going to let that come back up to a boil or a simmer, I'll say. I'm going to turn down that heat and we're going to let that go. Now back to our mushrooms. Some of that liquid is starting to come out now. This looks so good. So now I'm going to start seasoning. I'm going to start with some salt, some pepper, some garlic powder, and just to add some yumminess to the mushrooms and the grits, I'm going to get some vegan butter as well. Okay, so we're going to start on that. Now, I know you were like, hey, I thought you were putting peppers in here. I am, but I like my peppers to still have a little bit of bite to them. So I do wait for a little bit before I add them into my grits. And you can just coarsely chop them up. It's perfectly fine. I'm definitely on the mode of however you're feeling that day. Whatever you feel like. If you want to chop them up fine, chop them up fine. If you want to coarsely chop them and just kind of throw them in there, do that. If you don't even like peppers, don't use them. Cooking doesn't have to be a science. It's supposed to be something that brings you joy. Something that is a respite from the rest of your day. And I'll say that. So we're going to add our peppers in now and give it another stir. Oh, if you could smell this. So I'm going to show you a little bit of what we got going on here. Has some liquid coming out of the mushrooms. We got that butter and those peppers. You know what? Because I like color, I'm going to add one more pepper. I like bright colors in my food. Anyone that knows me knows I love the sun. I love bright colors. They make me happy. So we're going to add some color because we can. All right. And I'm going to add a little bit of chopped garlic as well. You want to make sure that you don't add it too soon because you don't want it to burn. I'm going to turn that down a little bit. Once again, so we don't burn our garlic. And we're going to let that cook a little bit longer. This whole dish probably takes about 20 minutes. And we have our grits here. I'm going to go ahead and take out the thyme now. Please be careful taking out the thyme in grits because if you get burned or if you catch it to your skin, you're going to get burned. I'm just letting you know. It's not pretty. So we're going to go ahead and add a pat of butter to our grits as well. Now, if you can see, those are nice and creamy. Make sure that you are scraping up the bits on the bottom so that those don't burn and that those all get cooked. You guys, grits make me so happy. So now I'm going to add a little bit more oat milk, probably another quarter cup, just to thin it out just a little bit. And since we added that little bit of milk, I'm going to add my cheddar. That's vegan cheddar. There's so many on the market right now. Whatever you like is perfectly fine. I do like Daiya. Daiya tends to be a really nice creamy cheese without having that funky aftertaste. So we're going to do that. And we're going to let that sit. So now I have my mushrooms here. Oh, perfect. So now I'm going to add my Cajun seasoning. So now we're going to add a little bit of Cajun. I like it spicy. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make it a little bit spicy here. Oh, these flavors, these smells that are coming out of this pan. So now I'm going to end with my last little drop of vegetable broth. And we're going to let that cook down. Add a nice little sauce to it. And we're going to turn you off. Now we have our grits. Those have come together so nice. They're nice and thick. At the end, so I'm going to add some nutritional yeast. Now, nutritional yeast adds that cheesy flavor to anything you want to add cheese to. And also, what I like to add to my grits, whether that be regular grits or vegan grits, I like to add a little cream cheese. It just kind of adds on to that creaminess. And we're going to add that in at the end. Just fold that in. And I use an herb and chive cream cheese. Once again, add some extra flavors and some creaminess. Oh man. I like a nice hearty grit. So we're going to be done with that. And now we're going to plate. So we have our cheesy grits. And once again, it has some cream cheese, some nutritional yeast, vegan cheese, vegetable broth for all that extra flavor. And then our mushrooms on top. Boy, oh boy, you don't know until you know. I promise you. Try these grits at home. And this is what you have. Cajun mushrooms and creamy, cheesy grits. Find them at home. You can do it. So the next time you're in the kitchen, remember Chef Lena Richard, Chef Edna Lewis, and Chef Leah Chase. Remember their stories, their contributions, their unwavering spirit. Let their legacy inspire you to create something delicious and meaningful. Enjoy, and don't forget to check out Monty Mills Catering for more delicious recipes and culinary inspirations.